Welcome to Mind Decoded, where we explore the psychology behind human behavior. Let's decode today's topic. You've already invested 2 years in the degree you hate. You've already spent 3 hours watching a terrible movie. You've already put 6 months into a failing relationship. And you keep going, not because the future looks good, because you've already invested too much to quit. This is the sunk cost fallacy. And it's costing you more than you realize. Psychologist Kahneman won a Nobel Prize partly for explaining why rational people make this irrational decision over and over. Here's what the sunk cost fallacy is. You continue investing in something because of what you've already invested, even when continuing produces worse outcomes than quitting. The money is gone, the time is gone, you can't get it back. But your brain treats past investment as a reason to invest more. Economist Thaler calls this throwing good money after bad. Your past costs are sunk. They're irretrievable, but you keep pouring in resources trying to justify what you've already lost. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This content is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered medical, psychological, or mental health advice. If you're experiencing mental health concerns, please consult with a qualified mental health professional. Let's start with why this happens. Your brain experiences loss more intensely than gain. Psychologists Kahneman and Amos Tversky discovered loss aversion. Losing $100 feels roughly twice as bad as gaining $100 feels good. When you quit something you've invested in, your brain frames it as crystallizing a loss. The investment becomes a definite failure. As long as you keep going, there's still a chance it might pay off. Your brain prefers uncertain possible success over certain definite loss, even when the probability of success is vanishingly small. The endowment effect makes this worse. Once you own something or invest in something, your brain values it more highly than identical things you don't own. Psychologist Dan Ariely demonstrated this with coffee mugs. People who were given a mug demanded much more money to sell it than people were willing to pay to buy an identical mug. Ownership creates attachment. When you've invested time, money, or effort into something, your brain treats it as part of your endowment. Letting go feels like losing something valuable, even when the thing itself has no value. Commitment and consistency bias locks you in. Psychologist Robert Cialdini found that once people make a choice, they feel psychological pressure to behave consistently with that choice. You chose the degree, you chose the relationship, you chose the project. Changing your mind means admitting the original choice was wrong. Your brain resists this. It wants to maintain a consistent self-narrative. Quitting feels like admitting you made a mistake. Continuing feels like being committed and consistent, even when commitment to a failing path is irrational. Escalation of commitment is the corporate version. Psychologist Barry Staw studied business decisions and found that decision-makers often increase investment in failing projects. A project shows poor results. Instead of cutting losses, managers invest more resources trying to turn it around. Why? Partly because the managers who approved the original investment don't want to admit it was wrong. Partly because each new investment resets the evaluation. Now we've invested this much more. We can't quit now. The sunk costs keep growing. The commitment keeps escalating. The losses keep mounting. Social pressure amplifies the fallacy. When other people know you've invested in something, quitting becomes socially costly. Psychologist Philip Tetlock's research on accountability shows that people escalate commitment more when they have to justify their decisions to others. You told everyone you were pursuing the law degree. Quitting means facing their judgment. Your brain weighs the social cost of admitting failure against the personal cost of continuing. Often, continuing feels less painful than the social embarrassment of quitting. The completion bias makes partial investment feel worse than no investment. Psychologist Gal Zauberman found that people are more likely to finish something they've started than to start something new, even when the new option is objectively better. You're 40% through a book you hate. Starting a new book means the first book stays unfinished. Your brain treats unfinished things as open loops that create psychological tension. Finishing, even something worthless, closes the loop. This is why you sit through terrible movies. The exit cost is admitting you wasted the time already spent. The continuation cost is wasting more time. Your brain picks continuation. Hope is a powerful driver of sunk cost thinking. As long as there's any chance of success, your brain focuses on that possibility. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman found that people overweight small probabilities. A 5% chance of success feels much larger than 5%. When you've already invested heavily, your brain clings to that tiny probability. Maybe the degree will pay off. Maybe the relationship will improve. Maybe the business will turn around. The hope isn't realistic assessment. It's motivated reasoning. Your brain is searching for justification to continue rather than objectively evaluating odds. Regret aversion plays a role. Psychologist Marcel Zeelenberg studied anticipated regret. People imagine how they'll feel if they quit and then the thing succeeds without them. You quit the startup. Then it becomes successful. The regret would be unbearable. So you stay, even though the probability of success is low. Your brain is trying to avoid future regret. But it's guaranteeing present suffering. The regret you're avoiding is hypothetical. The cost you're paying is real. Here's what makes sunk costs invisible. Your brain doesn't naturally separate past costs from future decisions. When evaluating whether to continue, you should only consider future costs and future benefits. Past costs are irrelevant. They're gone regardless of what you do next. But your brain bundles everything together. You've spent $50,000 and 3 years on the degree. Quitting means that investment was wasted. Your brain sees $50,000 and 3 years as reasons to continue. Economically, they're reasons to quit. The money is gone. Spending more won't bring it back. The opportunity cost is what you're actually losing. Every hour you spend in the failing relationship is an hour you can't spend finding a better relationship. Every dollar you invest in the failing business is a dollar you can't invest in a successful business. Economist Frederick Bastiat called this the seen versus the unseen. What you're doing is visible. What you could be doing instead is invisible. Your brain focuses on the visible sunk cost. It ignores the invisible opportunity cost of continuing. Ego depletion makes the fallacy worse when you're tired. Decision-making requires mental energy. When you're depleted, your brain relies on simple heuristics. I've already started this, so I should finish it. Psychologist Roy Baumeister found that people are more likely to fall for decision-making biases when they're tired or stressed. The rational analysis that past costs shouldn't influence future decisions requires effort. The automatic response is to keep going because you've already invested. Cultural narratives reinforce the fallacy. Quitting is framed as weakness. Winners never quit. Persistence is a virtue. Psychologist Angela Duckworth popularized grit as the key to success. But grit applied to the wrong goal is just stubbornness. There's a difference between productive persistence and sunk cost thinking. Productive persistence means continuing when the path is hard but correct. Sunk cost thinking means continuing when the path is wrong but you've already invested. The narratives don't distinguish between them. So how do you escape the sunk cost trap? First, ask the right question. Don't ask should I continue given what I've invested. Ask if I were starting fresh today with no prior investment, would I choose this path? If the answer is no, quit. Your past investment is irrelevant to that decision. This is hard because your brain screams that the investment matters. Ignore that scream. It's loss aversion, not logic. Second, reframe the loss. Quitting doesn't waste your investment. The investment was wasted the moment it went into something that doesn't produce value. Continuing doesn't validate the investment. It adds new losses to old losses. The investment is already gone. The only question is whether you'll lose more. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman suggests treating sunk costs as tuition. You paid to learn this path doesn't work. The learning has value. The path doesn't. Third, set decision rules in advance. Before you start investing, decide your quit conditions. If the business doesn't hit these metrics by this date, I quit. If the relationship doesn't improve after this intervention, I quit. Psychologist Ruth Chong calls these pre-commitments. They remove the decision from your emotionally compromised future self. Your present self, not yet invested, can evaluate rationally. Fourth, track opportunity costs explicitly. Write down what you're giving up by continuing. The time, the money, the alternative paths. Make the invisible visible. Your brain naturally focuses on what you've lost. Force it to focus on what you're losing by continuing. The comparison changes the decision. Understanding the sunk cost fallacy doesn't make walking away easy. Your brain will still scream that quitting wastes everything you've invested. But you'll recognize that scream is loss aversion, not logic. The investment is gone. The only question is whether you'll lose more. And sometimes, the smartest thing you can do is stop digging. And that's how the mind works. If this helped you understand yourself better, subscribe for weekly psychology insights. Thanks for watching.